Right, our investigative reporter Brendan Kirby is joining me now. Brendan, want to go ahead and pick up our conversation. We started at the 4 o'clock hour about tariffs. The U.S. generating about $72 billion in tariffs from this year, about an 80% increase from this time last year. So talk about now the impact that we're seeing locally at the Port of Mobile.
Well, Linus, it's very difficult to quantify, and the Port Authority isn't providing a lot of statistics, but we know that it's U.S. companies that are paying these tariffs, and that's where that revenue is coming from. The general consensus is that it all has slowed trade, but the impact has been somewhat muted because not all of the tariffs that President Donald Trump has announced have actually taken effect.
If they're coming from China, then they're going to have all those tariffs applied.
Few people track the quickly changing tariff landscape more closely than Emily Chipolich. As the business development manager at Richard Murray & Company in Mobile, she helps businesses all over the country arrange imports and exports.
I call it Liberation Day in America.
When President Donald Trump rolled out tariffs on many imports, Chipolich says it slowed trade. She says that's improved as some tariffs have been delayed.
They've started to pick up a little bit more, but definitely a large financial impact on pretty much all of our customers.
The Port of Mobile says some imports and exports actually are up this year, including products like forest products and steel commodities. The port declined to provide data on containerized cargo, which would be heavily impacted by tariffs. A spokeswoman referred us to APM terminals, which didn't respond to requests for comment. Port Authority Director John Driscoll told me in a statement that the port is one of the nation's most diverse. This strategic advantage positions Alabama's port to remain resilient regardless of shifts in global trade policy, he says.
The president has eased some tariffs.
Peter Simonson, a professor of supply chain management at the University of South Alabama, says tariffs have had an impact, but adds that the worst-case scenario hasn't come to pass. He says that's in part because of optimism about trade deals that haven't been finalized.
People are operating as though they will be hammered out, and people want to make this work. They don't want a trade war.
There may be some hiccups with that.
Mobile Chamber President and CEO Bradley Burns says tariffs haven't been as damaging as he feared, but speaking from the Paris Air Show this week, he expressed concerns about the long-term impact on the Airbus plant in Mobile.
Like every other aviation company, Airbus has an international supply chain. And if the United States slaps a big tariff on those parts and components that come from literally all over the world, it will make the plant in Mobile no longer financially competitive.
Chipolich, the import-export broker in Mobile, tells me another way her customers have been squeezed. There's been a rush to get imports into the country during a 90-day pause that President Trump announced last month on a new round of tariffs on Chinese imports. And she says that's caused a capacity shortage on the ships, which have been driving up shipping fees. Reporting live in the studio, Brendan Kirby, Fox 10 News.